mock drafts that the Panthers had posted on their website. Figure we could talk a little draft, being that the Panthers have really set up their free agency so that they can, really go best player available or draft a rookie quarterback and stick him into a pretty nice situation on offense. And frankly, that's kind of uh, the way I'm feeling like they want to go right now.
So this, we either could be reading into this too much, or maybe we're not reading into it enough, or it's a smokescreen. The way that the Panthers, like you said, have built this roster and have done free agency, obviously, quick side note, we were not in the Deshaun Watson winner circle. He ends up going to Cleveland. We'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Hey, but wasn't it a nice consolation that he didn't go to one of our division rivals like it looked like he was going to?
It was very nice, and that's something I want to touch on later as well. So, the way they've constructed this roster, they have two options they could go. They could either obviously go for a veteran like a Baker Mayfield or a Jimmy Garoppolo. For me, I wouldn't go that route, but they might. Or, the Malik Willis stock has gotten really high the past couple weeks, and I'm kind of on the train, and I think you have been as well. So just looking at what they've got now, I mean, they've got two ways they can go. They can get a veteran, and with the proper coaching and proper setup, I mean, we could be a wild card team with a solid veteran quarterback. But at the same time, do you want to go that route, or do you want to go for all the potential like you see in a guy like Malik Willis? That's the route I would go. What do you think the Panthers are thinking right now?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this a little bit. I've pretty much been preaching the offensive line thing, but I'm starting to rethink that just because, I mean, we assume the Panthers are going to be bad enough this year that they'll have a shot at a franchise quarterback next year. But we don't know that. So if you don't take a swing on a quarterback this year in the first round, well, what if you end up picking even where you're at right now, number 6, number 7, number 8, 9, whatever next year? You finish around the same. Even if you finish in that range, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are getting hyped up enough that there's a good chance both of those guys are going to go top 2 next year. Someone's going to move up and make those picks. You have an opportunity this year to most likely take a swing on one of these two quarterbacks. Like you said, Malik Willis has been skyrocketing up draft boards lately. There's a chance. I mean, I don't really see it happening, but there have been rumors that, Detroit might take a swing on him with the number 2 pick just because he's a guy who has all those physical tools that are just so enticing when you're looking for an NFL quarterback. So, if you have a shot at a guy like that, it's hard to say no because even if there are things on tape that are big red flags, the dude has all the physical traits in the world. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's a great guy, good leader, the perfect type of dude you want to build around. You look at guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, that's probably the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Both of those guys were seen as high risk, high reward quarterbacks coming out of college. I believe Josh Allen was number 10. I think they were both taken right around the 10th pick in the draft. So they weren't, the number 1 guys, either one of them when they were coming out. Josh Allen, was I can't remember. He might have been taken after Josh. No, I don't think he was taken after Josh Rosen, but he was right in the same couple of picks as Josh Rosen. And then, Patrick Mahomes was taken after Mitch Trubisky. So going with the sure thing is never really a sure thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with you. I would rather draft a guy with potential and him be a bust than draft a guy that I know is going to be pro ready, but he's kind of already at his max. And I think any normal person would say that. Um, and I agree with what you're saying as well as the Panthers. People, a lot of people are saying, oh, just take an offensive lineman this year and then draft a quarterback next year. Okay, it sounds nice when you say it, but you look at other teams, the Panthers, I don't think are bad enough to be a bottom three team. I mean, they've got enough talent where they're going to win at least 5-6 games at least. That's not good enough to get a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud from Ohio State. So I'm like you. I mean, it's nice to say that, but let's say they miss on a quarterback this year. They don't take one. They draft the offensive lineman. They're not bad enough to get a quarterback next year. Then what are you going to do? You're going to draft another line. I mean, it eventually you got to take a swing at a guy. And you look at a kid like Malik Willis, he's got all the great traits that you want, the physical capabilities. He's a fantastic guy. He's got a high motor, good character. I mean, I could understand if he had all the traits in the world and maybe he was a little bit of a, slacker in the gym. Maybe he doesn't want to put in the work, but the guy seems like he wants to work hard and he wants to do well. I mean, that's about all the potential you could need to do well. Like I said, I don't see why you don't take a chance on the kid.
Yeah, and the Panthers, like we said, they've had a good free agency, so they've really put themselves in a position where if they get that guy, they've surrounded them with a pretty good team around them. I mean, it's not, a lights out team. There's certainly things we could improve on, but compared to what we had going last year with Sam Darnold, this, what they're putting together seems to be like something that could work a little better, especially with the new coaching additions they made. I have high hopes for those, those guys in those situations. So, it's always risky, when you draft a quarterback, especially with a top 10 pick, but you have to do it. If you want to be one of the good teams in the NFL, you have to take a chance on one of these guys. And then that brings you to the question, is it Kenny Pickett or is it Malik Willis? Well, like I said before, if you want to be one of those great teams, you got to swing for the fences. You got to take a risk with the guy who there is more risk involved, but he has the potential to be one of those game-changing, game-breaking quarterbacks. If you want to go with Kenny Pickett, that's fine. You're going to get a guy you can stick in there, and he's going to be able to make better reads and things like that. But he's not going to extend plays. He's not going to make game-breaking wow plays that Malik Willis has the potential to make if you coach him up the right way. And like I said, you look at Patrick Mahomes, you look at Josh Allen. Those are the two most unstoppable forces in the league right now. Those are the two things everybody wants. Those two guys, everybody would kill to have one of those guys under center. So if you have a shot at a guy who might turn into one of those, worst case scenario, it didn't work out. You trade him in 3 or 4 years and you try again. That's how I see
it. You took the words right out of my mouth, and I pretty much agree with everything you're saying.
But, yeah. I think with that being said, though, I'm not convinced that the Panthers feel the same way. I feel like that might be part of the reason they're trying to build a team that you can plug a guy in and let him play, is maybe they're going to go with the guy who's more pro ready. You know what I mean? And they want a guy that they can stick in there and instantly, make a difference. And they don't really have time to wait a year for Malik Willis to develop. So we'll see what happens, but it seems like they do have a lot of interest in in Kenny Pickett, but that could be a smokescreen. It could all be a smokescreen. They could just be planning on going best player available. They might be interested in no quarterbacks. They might be so in love with one of these guys, they're going to trade up to number 2 to get them. You just never know until the draft day comes.
I think no matter what, do not trade up. Do not trade up. Because a team I think it's BS. People just trying to drive up the price for the number 2 pick or whatever. Man, unless it's like you can give away peanuts to get it, I wouldn't do it. Stay put, because I don't think it's worth trading up unless you think he's that guy. I just don't want to see the Panthers already lose out they've already lost out on a second and third round pick. But I think we can say for without a shadow of a doubt, wherever we go with this pick, I mean, we're going to get either what we think is the best quarterback in the draft, one of the top offensive linemen in the draft, one of the best defensive ends in the draft, or the top safety or corner in the draft. I mean, there's positions I prefer over others, but I mean, you're getting a top tier player either way. So it's nice to be in that position, but I would prefer to see the quarterback go ahead and get taken care of.
Yeah. Well, the Panthers have invested so much draft capital in their defense over the last couple years, and their offensive line and quarterback play has been so damn bad. I have a hard time believing this pick is going anywhere but offensive line or quarterback. And the way
I
they're
agree.
building this team, and as desperate as they've got to be right now, as hard as they went after Deshaun Watson, it feels like, David Tepper's sick of it, man. He wants his franchise quarterback. He doesn't care what it takes. He's going to roll the dice on somebody to get him. And I think it's just going to boil down to which quarterback is either available or they like better. And, like you, I hope that person is Malik Willis.
I agree. I mean, I feel the same